So within Europe, what you want is a full approval. It's great, but you need a full development plan. You need all the quality stuff, all the non-clinical, all the clinical, all the safety exposure data, ICHE1, usually 300 to 600 patients exposed for 6 months should be adequate. Well, sometimes we don't have even 300 patients in our orphan disease, so that goes out the window. And you probably need 2 independent phase 3 trials, not necessarily, but quite likely. But even if you get this full approval, you may still be asked to have, you may still have post-approval commitments, other things that you're asked to do to follow up. But that's a full approval, and everybody's happy. So there's then exceptional circumstances. Now, this is also great, but it is supposed to be exceptional. It is a full approval. So unlike conditional, which I'll talk about in just a second, it is a full approval, but it's approved under exceptional circumstances when it's quite clear that however hard you tried, you could never reasonably do all of the things that we would ordinarily expect for a full approval. So not necessarily all the elements of a traditional development plan. There may be limited dose finding. Certainly exposure may well be limited. Just the number of patients who are exposed may be more limited. There may also be post-approval commitments, and they're perhaps even more likely, quite likely, to set up a registry to monitor these patients. And I said it's the most likely approval route for very rare diseases. I think it is for the very rare diseases, but don't just ordinarily think this is an orphan product, therefore we'll get an approval under exceptional circumstances. As I said, 5 per 10,000 equates to over 200,000 patients in Europe. There's another 200,000 in the States. There's all around the rest of the world. So arguing, oh, we can't get many patients is not necessarily going to go down that well. But it is an alternative possibility. But the sponsor very much has to justify that this is a case where, however hard we try, we could never meet all of the expectations of a more traditional full approval. And then there's the conditional approval, which came in when I was still a regulator and there when we were writing the legislation for this. And it's been used with some mixed levels of success, which means some good and some not so good. First of all, I think it's confusing. Lots of companies talk to me, and I tend not to be doing so much of it now, but they talk to me when their results are not as good as they hoped, they didn't get statistical significance or sort of marginal. And so they say, well, do you think we can get a conditional approval on condition that we do another study? And the answer is absolutely no. That is not the circumstances where you get a conditional approval. It's not the route for evidence was pretty good, but not quite good enough, as I put it there. In the legislation, it actually says that a positive benefit risk has to be established, which I find strange because I thought that gave you a full approval. But the point is more data are still deemed necessary. So yeah, that positive benefit risk has to have been established before you can get a conditional approval. And the more data still deemed necessary, might be longer follow-up. It might be, might even be another trial, but it is almost certainly not going to be the company goes away and designs another trial and starts running it, and I'll explain why. The point is, I think that the bottom bullet point there, the benefit to public health of the medicinal product's immediate availability on the market outweighs the risks due to need for further data. So the regulator is recognizing that there is a risk in putting this drug on the market, because we don't know everything that we'd really like to know about it, although perhaps arguably we never do. But we do see there's more information we need to know. There is a risk in authorizing this product when we don't know those information, those data. But the benefits of doing so may outweigh the risks. So that's where they'll think about the conditional approval.